Hey VC, what's up? It's me, yours truly. I am back to post a quick video here. This is going to be my entry into Eve, Miss Lady Soul, her 200 subscribers contest. Um, she's been in the VC for a little while now. If you don't know her channel, I'll try to remember to go back in and put a link below. Um, Always shares a lot of, you can tell by just even the title of her channel, Miss Lady Soul. She has a lot of great soul stuff that she shares. She likes other stuff too, but definitely shows a good collection of soul type of stuff. Really cool channel, and definitely wanted to just kind of jump on board and support it and do a response to your contest, Eve. So here we go. I'll kind of jump right into it. And I didn't write down your questions. I have it pulled up on the computer screen over there. So if I'm squinting trying to read way over there, pardon me though. But the first question was to show 3 of your favorite rock albums that kind of influence your musical journey and life and that kind of thing. And I've talked about that a lot before. So I tried to kind of, do things or kind of take it to some different steps in my journey. So one that I do always bring up, because this was really kind of one of my first introductions to anything kind of hard rock, metal, or just kind of that whole world, of course, was through this album right here, which was Twisted Sister Stay Hungry. I've told that story a bunch of times. Just one of the first albums that I encountered when I moved into a new neighborhood that was filled with people that loved hard rock and heavy metal, and I had never heard any hard rock or heavy metal. So Twisted Sister Stay Hungry was definitely a significant album in that regard. Billy Idol's Rebel Yell was kind of my introduction to new wave. But I decided, again, I talk about those all the time, so I decided to look at maybe 2 other, turns in my journey. And so I thought for the longest time, kind of up through, kind of really going in from junior high into high school, I was pretty much all about just rap and hip hop and hair metal. And that was kind of, maybe the 80s stuff, but new wave type of stuff. But that was pretty much it. So another album that was a significant turn for me was this one here, which is Iron Maiden's Somewhere in Time. And this one was significant for me because this was really the first album that I started listening to that did not completely revolve around just your Whitesnake, your Rat, your Wingers, and the kind of the hair metal type of thing, but actually going into some of the more legendary metal bands. Your Iron Maidens, and kind of discovering your Metallicas, and then discovering your Megadeths, and discovering your Slayers, and all that stuff kind of came after and because of this. So yeah, this was definitely an album that marked a significant branch growing off my music tree. And it's kind of funny too, because what really brought me into the album at the time, and of course it was just a cassette that I had, a friend of mine had just given it to me. I actually think he stole it. I think he used to break into cars and steal things. I've never kind of confirmed that, but stuff just kind of came about later where things just started making sense. But he gave me a copy of this, and it was a tape, and I kind of put it on and listened to it. And again, I'm into the melodies of all the hair metal type of stuff at that point in time, so I didn't quite get it. But just through the artwork and the energy of the music and everything else, it was more so, I'm going to listen to this until I get it. And I almost kind of forced Iron Maiden on myself, and thank goodness I did, because I, grew to love this album. It's actually probably my favorite Iron Maiden album to listen to. It's not the most legendary Iron Maiden album, but it's definitely my favorite to listen to from front to back. And like I said, all Metallica, Megadeth, and my discovery of all that stuff kind of came from that album. So that marks a significant path on my journey, and I think this one does too, which is New Order Substance. Great album. And I've told the story maybe once or twice in the past throughout the VC, but where this kind of marks another significant branch off my musical tree, kind of a journey, was first week or second week of college. A sweet mate was playing this. A Bizarre Love Triangle actually is what he was playing, and I just overheard it and thought it was the coolest thing I ever heard. So again, from the metal and hip hop that I listened to and new wave, this was kind of my break into more the dance, techno, and then also kind of discovering the 90s thing that was just starting to happen. This album was kind of the significant, hey, pay attention to this other stuff, and all that great stuff. So New Order Substance is definitely another very significant album on my musical journey. So those are the three I would pick there. Next question was show two or more soul, R&B, funk albums that you have in your collection that are kind of go-to soul or funk R&B albums. And you said two or more, so I picked or more. Excuse me. But I won't go into a ton of detail on every one because most you'll know. But these are just kind of the ones that I can just always recall. This is just, it seems that something off of these albums are spinning a good majority of the time when I'm playing soul music, if you will. And of course, I had to skip over quite a few. But Marvin Gaye, I Want You, amazing album. Talking about just a great album to put on and have just kind of an awesome feel in the background. That funky, sexy thing that Marvin was doing back in this time frame. I mean, just completely and totally captures by this album. Fantastic. Another one pretty much everyone kind of knows, you know, Stevie Wonder. Songs in the Key of Life, fantastic 2 LP set. Really shows just all the creativity that Stevie was going through at the time. You know, songs like As, I Wish, Sir Duke. I mean, just all kinds of great stuff. This is, again, just one of those albums that's just fantastic to throw on and listen to from front to back. And it's almost like you discover something new every time you listen to it. I do spend quite a bit of 80s R&B. I think overall that might still be the area I go to the most. And Ready for the World is definitely a band I listen to a lot when it comes to that. And this is their self-titled album. You know, songs like Tonight, Digital Display is probably definitely the song I listen to the most by them, period. Deep Inside Your Love, Oh Sheila, Slide Over. Just a slamming 80s R&B album. So definitely a go-to there. Bill Withers. I actually should have pulled out his greatest hits because that's probably what I go to the most. But I had to pull this one out too because, you know, this has a song Lovely Day on it. And probably the song I listen to the most by him. So again, fantastic artist. You can never get tired of listening to Bill. One of the greatest go-to R&B or funk type albums is going to be Sly and the Family Stone's Greatest Hits. This album, it should just be called an absolute celebration of music. I mean, I've said this before, like one of the things that's so missing from music today, especially in the R&B world, is that the element of pure celebration, you know, just the enjoyment of life, the enjoyment of being together, the enjoyment of doing something together that everyone can jump in and connect on. And I'm not one of those people that, you know, do that whole, talk about the whole diversity thing and all that. I think that word has been so abused and twisted around to mean so many things, and people kind of use it more so as a way to get their way on something. And, you know, the word means crap to me these days, quite frankly. But when I listen to something like this represents what diversity is supposed to be about in terms of just truly bringing everyone together to celebrate. I mean, like nothing else to celebrate each other. And that's the feel I get from everything on that album. Love it to death. So Sly and the Family Stone's Greatest Hits. Next, I'm going to Miguel here. This is definitely a go-to R&B album. Matter of fact, when you talk about R&B, anything in the 2000s, I listen to this album more than any other, without question. I mean, I said I've shown this album a number of times where I always say this album saved modern day R&B for me because it is slamming from front to back. Awesome, awesome album. And this may not be R&B, but I kind of put it in the R&B funk, so to speak, but this is actually gospel. But Willie Neal Johnson and the Gospel Keynotes. This is Rise Again, one of the greatest gospel albums ever. Love every single song on it. Listen to it all the time. Love it. Pops up in rotation on my iPod all the time. And I love every single track on here. Is fantastic. So I consider that definitely a go-to album that fits in this category. Rolls Royce. Again, just another one of those legendary bands. I mean, on here, most people probably know them from doing the theme song "Car Wash" from the movie Car Wash. But you know, I want to get next to you, and then "Wishing on a Star." I mean, just again, just the beauty that is R&B. Fantastic album. Some of the '80s stuff that I really like, I listened to quite a bit. Alexander O'Neal was pretty, you know, pretty big R&B star back in the '80s. Um, for those maybe that don't know him or don't know him as well, but he was actually the original singer of the time before Morris Day came along, and when Prince kind of took the time and was making it his project and taking more control, Alexander O'Neal wanted stuff that Prince wasn't willing to give, so Alexander was out, Morris Day came in, and then the Time went on to do the Time thing, and Alexander went on to a solo career. But I pull this one out because, again, one of the songs that I listen to the most. I mean, Innocent's a great song on here and so forth, but If You Were Here Tonight was his absolute '80s jam. Anyone who knows Alexander O'Neal, that's the first song they will go to is If You Were Here Tonight. So this is the, you know, his regular studio album. There's also a live version that he did, which is pretty cool. And actually, Monty Moya, I think is his name, who was the keyboardist in the Time, I think. Yeah, I think he was the keyboardist from the Time. He's the one that wrote If You Were Here Tonight for Alexander O'Neal. But anyway, just a little background on him. Me, Juicy Fruit. Again, talk about just a smooth '80s groove, boy. Love it. If you're not familiar with that band, that's the first song I would recommend listening to is the title track, Juicy Fruit. If you love that, just keep digging in further. And the style of that, especially what's her name, vocals, the style of that fits in very well to what's arguably from front to back my favorite '80s R&B band is going to be the SOS Band. And I just pulled one of their albums because, again, all of their stuff is fantastic. But this is SOS Band on the Rise. And I pulled this one because it has, again, probably my favorite song by them, which is Tell Me If You Still Care. Again, just a perfect, smooth '80s groove. But they also have great stuff like, you know, Just Be Good to Me, which is on this album. On some of their other albums, you have stuff like Weekend Girl, No One's Gonna Love You. I mean, just fantastic stuff. But yeah, if you're not familiar with them, again, I would say check out Weekend Girl and Tell Me If You Still Care. And if you like both of those songs, you know, dive into them. Awesome, awesome band. And the man, of course, this is a regular go-to, and I only have two more here. Wilson Pickett, Greatest Hits, another awesome go-to album. I mean, in my world, my three best vocalists of all time is Sam Cooke, Perry, you know, from Journey, Steve Perry, and Wilson Pickett. Those are my three absolute favorite vocalists. So, you know, all of Wilson's hits on here from In the Midnight Hour, 6345789, Mustang Sally. I mean, just everything. Hey Jude, the Beatles cover, which he really tears it up on that. But yeah, fantastic go-to album there. Nice 2 LP set. And last but not least, Curtis Mayfield. And this is There's No Place Like America Today. Again, fantastic album. A lot of different elements to it. Very smooth R&B type of stuff. You know, typical Curtis Mayfield type of stuff. Some stuff is almost gospel-like in certain places. Just a great all-around piece of music, and definitely his favorite album for me. So those were some of the funk / R&B go-to albums. And again, I had to leave so much stuff out with, you know, Evelyn Champagne King, Cameo. I mean, just all kinds of fantastic bands, but couldn't make this video an hour long. So let's move on to the next question. These should go a little bit quicker. Show an album or genre that, in your opinion, everyone should own. Oh, show an album of any genre that you feel everyone should own, and maybe an artist that's not shown enough or talked about enough in the VC. Excuse me. And that was actually kind of a pretty easy one that came ahead, because I think this is an artist that, of course, everyone knows, like everyone knows, but it's not talked about in the VC that much, and that's the one and only Ray Charles. Again, everyone knows Ray Charles, but you know, this album here is just a fantastic piece of work. I mean, and I say this is one that everyone should own, and kind of where that's coming from, just to put it in a different term. If you had aliens that came down because they overheard a transmission from outer space and they were like, hey, we've heard about this thing called music, and there's a lot of different types of music and all of that, but we have to get out of here right now and go back home, but we only have about 40 minutes or so of space that we can put in our ship to take that much music, was like 40 minutes of music. Like, what's one of the albums that you might hand to them to say, take this and you'll get a feel for what this whole music thing is about with us? This album right here by Ray Charles would be one that you could hand to them, and if they take it back and dissect it, they will pretty much learn where this rock and roll thing came from, what this gospel thing is about, what this R&B thing is about. I mean, they will pretty much capture an element of all things music in terms of all the various genres and everything. So when you look at songs like, you know, Ain't That Love Drowning in My Tears, A Fool for You, Hallelujah, I Love Her So, Mess Around, you know, closing track with I Got a Woman, Mary Ann. I mean, even like the big band element type of thing, you'll get a feel for what a big band and band leader and that type of thing, like what that type of music is about as well. So it's all captured on this. And again, Ray Charles is an artist I don't see talked about a ton, and this is absolutely an album that everyone should have in their collection, in my opinion. So the next one, number 4, was Show Your Favorite Live Album. Usually it's a Hendrix pick for me. But this time I'm actually going to go with this one here, because I've skipped this one the last couple times I've talked about live albums. But Neil Lofgren's Acoustic Live is a great album. Talk about one of those albums that just sonically, I mean, the recording and his playing on top of that is just absolutely amazing. And one of the songs you hear played a lot off of this, especially when some people are kind of demoing their systems on YouTube and that type of thing, is the song Keith Don't Go. So again, if you're not familiar with this, give that a listen and just listen to the amazing acoustic playing of Neil's on that fantastic live album. But yeah, if I had to go to, you know, maybe a more rock type of album, I'm definitely going with Hendrix Live at Monterey. I mean, that's a fantastic live album. Show an album or talk about a song that you used to hate but learned to like or love. So funny you should ask that question. I have like I have 6 floating shelves that hang on my wall, and I always do a different theme on those shelves with album covers, you know, just to kind of use the album artwork and change things up. I talked about this in a few videos ago. And so about 4 or 5 days ago, I actually changed this shelf over here, which was all songs that I used to hate and now I love to death. So I'm just going to take the camera and show you the shelf over there, because I answered this question a few days ago before I even saw your thread. I don't think I can flip it in the middle of filming, so let me just kind of try to do this. All right, so these are the 4 that I put up there. So on the first one you have Seal, which is, of course, his first self-titled album, and it's the song Crazy. You know, I remember, and I've told this story before, I'm sitting at home after school watching a little MTV, that video comes on, and I literally say out loud, that is the dumbest song I've ever heard in my life. There's no melody to it. He looks like an idiot with those stupid dread things in his head and blah, blah, blah. Fast forward 15, 20 years, the guy's pure genius, and I love him to death, and I definitely love that album and that song as much as anything now. Same thing with Chris Isaak. You know, hated that album when it first came out. You know, Wicked Game, that song and that video, it's like, okay, I don't get it. It's just stupid. Why is this even topping the charts? and then you grow older and you mature a bit and you see the video again and you're like, oh, now I get it. And again, just fantastic song to me now. Buffalo Stance by Nina Cherry, exact same story. Thought it was the dumbest thing in the world. Very cool song I listen to all the time now. And maybe the number one, which is Thunder Kiss 65 by White Zombie, because same situation. I'm in the lounge with my girlfriend back in college, and that video comes on MTV, and again, I say directly to her, that is the stupidest song I've ever heard of in my entire life. It's not even music, he's not even singing, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward to today, one of my top 3 metal songs of all time is a song I said was the stupidest thing I ever heard in my life back then. So, so there you go. Those are my picks for that. So again, Eve, congratulations on the 200 subs. Glad I got a chance to jump on board. Let me know what you think, VC, and we will talk to you soon. All right, take care, guys.